Welcome to the Lichtman Live Post Show. This is the Lichtman Live Post Show 106 episodes in, and this is the post show for it. Thank you, Michael U for becoming a member. Hello, TM, Louis Marinucci. Thank you for being here. We were supposed to be streaming on Twitch tonight. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues. That's why I kind of felt distracted that episode because I was trying to deal with some of the technical issues, and I don't know why, but I couldn't fix it. Sucks. But hopefully next week we'll get that fixed. Hello, Axel, Suzanne, Jason, Atul. Atul says, I regard you super highly. Thanks for keeping us sane. I regard you super highly as well. Hello, Karen Strickler. Hello, Isaac. Savannah, if you're watching, you don't have to be sorry. It's not your fault. Savannah, our channel manager, said, sorry, I'll look more into Twitch. It's not a big deal, but it's all good. Hi, must-read article from The Atlantic, How Hitler Dismantled a Democracy in 53 Days. I think I saw that. I don't know if I read it. I definitely saw that. I definitely believe it can be done, no matter what country, so it's definitely a scary thought. Hey, Sam, what a shit show of the day this was. I know. It felt like it turned 50 different directions in one day. There was a federal aid freeze, and then all these, Medicare sites shut down, and then the White House had a press briefing, and the new White House press secretary said it doesn't affect individual financial aids benefits, and then a judge blocked it. So it was like, it was such a whirlwind. Yeah, give me a like if you're watching. If you're one of the people watching the post show, give me a like. Why not? It's free. Dwayne Osmond says, I wish that everyone would welcome every side of the political spectrum, and not censor those who don't align with others. I agree with you. Anything on the allegations that 3.5 million votes that were suppressed from Kamala? I read the article and I watched the video. It sounds compelling. I really want my dad. I sent him the article and I told him to read it, and he hasn't yet. You heard his. If you watch Lichtman Live, you heard his analysis. He says he's skeptical of it. So, I trust him. I don't know if anybody in the country understands voting more than he does. So I'm reserving judgment till I get his analysis. If what this guy, Greg Palast, is saying is true, it's certainly a giant red flag for sure. This really bugs me. Why did you not cover the Wall Street Journal Biden decline story? I don't remember seeing that story, so I apologize for not covering it, but I don't believe I saw it. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Give me 1 second. Biden decline Wall Street Journal. This one? From a month ago? Aides kept meeting shorts and controlled access. Top advisors acted as go-between, and public interaction became more scripted. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a big deal to me. Yeah, never mind. Oh no, it was Katie McAllister's birthday today. Well, I'm glad you had a great day. Unfortunately, yeah, the news. Don't base your birthday off the news, right? If every cabinet member, judge, and House and Senate member lick steps, no one has protection. That's true. The block from the federal judge is temporary until Monday or Tuesday. Well, it's better than nothing, right? There's a difference between accepting that your friend voted for Mitt Romney instead of Barack Obama versus your friend voting for Trump. This is way beyond difference of opinion. Yeah, I sort of agree with that to some extent. Thank you, Robert, for giving the like a stream. Caroline Kennedy annihilated RFK Jr. I'm sure that'll get more attention as his hearing begins. Did you by any chance see what Pete Hegseth did to General Milley? There was also a guy who went into the Capitol with a Molotov cocktail threatening Mike Johnson, Pete Hegseth, and Scott Bessent. I believe Pete Hegseth is trying to revoke General Milley's security clearance. That's all I saw. I didn't hear about this guy with a Molotov cocktail. If it's true, Greg Palast journalism, then it's the biggest steal of anything in American history. I guess you're right. Did you see that Trump wants to buy out federal employees? I did see that, yes. I guess... No, I'm not going to comment on that. Our party lied to us. We need to hold them accountable. They can't keep getting away with this. We trusted them. What did they lie about exactly? I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just curious what you're talking about specifically. To what extent did Elon Musk and his misinformation alter the outcome of last year's election? I don't know if we'll ever be able to measure that in a concrete way. How does the professor compare starting out adulthood under Vietnam and Nixon to starting out adulthood under Trump and Musk? I don't know. I guess we'd have to have that conversation together since we both... I didn't really start adulthood under Trump and Musk, but we'd have to have that conversation together. We can't answer it independently. Did that Colombian president really cave into Trump and told him that he would send his personal presidential plane to pick up? I don't know. I thought that they sent the plane back. I haven't looked into it since then. Like, I thought that Trump sent the plane to Colombia and then they sent the plane back. I don't know what happened after that. The deportation numbers went down from 1,700 yesterday to 960 today. Trump is going to be livid. It's honestly so sad what's happening. Oh, he's going to be livid that they went down. Well, I'm sure they're going to be sustained at a high number for a long time. I don't think he's going to care if they fluctuate 1,000 a day here and there. I don't think. Your dad does a good job talking about this stuff without making the anxiety any worse. Wise man. He is a wise man. The Democrats lied about Biden's decline. That's like the most... Who lied about what? It's the most like shooting into the air like argument you can possibly have. Like, they lied. It's like, who lied about what exactly? It's too general of a statement. It's not a buyout. It's deferred resignation until 9:30, or retire beforehand. Okay. Pure Home says, I'm just going to spend the next few minutes slamming RFK Jr. Unfortunately, I had a friend who supported him and got mad at me for saying he was a conspiracy theorist back in 2023. I don't think that's even... he is a conspiracy theorist. Whether you believe in his conspiracies or not is the question. Greetings to Philip H. No, Trump blackmailed Colombia with a tariff, so Colombia allowed the plane to enter. Okay, gotcha. The president of Colombia did send the plane back. Trump threatened a tariff, and the Colombia president caved. Okay. Good to know, I guess. Hi, Sam. It's Louise's Adventures on Discord. I want to say that is false about lying about Biden's health. There's so many like double negatives in this. That is false. I think you're saying what I'm saying. Like, who lied about what? I think that's a bad talking point, a bad faith talking point. Thank you, Jai Contolia, for your kind news. Breaking, I'm watching CNN. Allie Phillips says, according to the Associated Press, that an armed man was arrested in D.C. with the intent of killing Trump cabinet nominees. Jesus Christ. It's not funny, but it's just we live in such an absurd world right now, it feels like. Let me see. Capitol attack. No, it's all going to be January 6th stuff. What could I use to find that? I guess it doesn't really matter. Greg Palast tried to put up a link, but YouTube deleted it. Google Tom Hartman and Palast and YouTube. Yeah, I saw that video. I watched it. Again, he makes a lot of very grandiose claims. I don't know how accurate they are or not. That's the issue. They could be. I just don't know. I wonder why I wonder why 80 million voters voted for Biden, but then weren't they to support Kamala as the next president? Why did they not show up for her? I mean, there are reasons why people didn't show up for Kamala, certainly. Inflation, possibly one of them. Gaza, possibly one of them. The lack of COVID, like COVID inspired a lot of people to vote. It does seem like too many for those reasons to have been the reason why. But there are reasons. My point is there are reasons. Do I believe that they're substantial enough to lose all those voters? I don't know. It seems odd for sure. Every day with Elon Musk doing the Nazi salute and emboldening far-right parties, is this more evidence to prove that he interfered in every election last year? I don't think that in and of itself proves that he interfered with an election. I think it just proves that he is a man not to be trusted, generally speaking. What is the probability of AOC becoming president in 2028? I have no idea. Luis says, I found out from Midas Touch that Jim Acosta quit CNN because of the fact of him telling the truth about Trump, then being pushed to the midnight slot. Yeah, I saw he retired today. I don't know the whole saga behind it, but yeah. Oh, because she's a black woman. That's also, I think, yeah, a contributing factor to why so many people didn't show up for her. Eric W. says, she got done meatloaf style. Quote, I'd vote for anyone but Trump, but I won't vote for her. Yeah. Part of why people did not show up for Kamala is misogyny and racism, two of the four legs of the hate stool, the other being anti-Semitism and LGBTQ. Yeah, I agree with that. Acosta resigned on air. What did he say exactly? Let me see if I can find it.
So if you've purchased a faulty...
No free ads. No free ads, YouTube.
Costa directed at President Trump.
It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant.
The CNN anchor quit today, but...
I don't want to get claimed for this. I just want the part where he speaks.
End today's show by thanking all of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network.
Why is this
you may
so
have
low?
seen some reports about me and the...
Come on. We just want a clip of Acosta talking about leaving. That's not low volume. I'm just going to watch the Inside Edition one. Forget it.
A final salvo from Jim Acosta directed at President Trump.
It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant.
The CNN anchor quit today, but not before bashing Trump.
The CNN anchor quit today. That was so weird the way she said that.
One more time.
Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Acosta routinely butted heads with the president during Trump's first term,
I thought this was a funny exchange. I remember this exchange.
including that notorious incident when he wrestled for the mic with a White House intern.
You are a rude, terrible person.
When reports surfaced that CNN was moving Acosta from his plum 10 a.m. morning slot to the midnight graveyard shift, Trump celebrated. Wow, really good news. Jim Acosta has been relegated by CNN fake news to the midnight hour.
Why'd they do that? I don't get that. Just because they didn't like that he was talking shit about Trump?
Word is that he wants to quit, and that would be even better. Jim is a major loser who will fail no matter.
I'm sorry, but sometimes Trump, the way he types and tweets is just funny.
Where he ends up. Good luck, Jim. Today, Trump got his wish, but Acosta vowed to keep fighting the fight.
I've always believed it's the job of the press to hold power to account. I've always tried to do that here at CNN. And I plan on doing all of that in the future.
And Selena Gomez is facing more backlash today after her
Oh God, this whole Selena Gomez thing.
tearful reaction to Trump's deportation push.
Only people are getting attacked.
I don't know. Like, I understand her sadness and her fear, but like this video did seem a little strange to me.
Trolls are using her Mexican heritage to attack her. Selena's grandparents entered the country illegally back in the 70s. She has an entitlement attitude toward America, like her illegal grandparents, writes one former
Jeez Louise, dude.
Republican Senate candidate. Maybe Selena should be deported too. She responded, thanks for the laugh and the threat. Megyn Kelly is
So like a second generation American should be deported?
also bashing Selena.
Anybody who takes their phone, works up the tears, and posts a video of themselves crying into their phone is sick.
But she found
Okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. Is sick? Come on.
support on The View.
Never condemn someone for showing empathy for another person.
I wasn't expecting to get into that. Okay. I mean, like, I don't know. Origins and Tall Tales says Megyn Kelly is so annoying, but never misses an opportunity for a click. Yeah, she is really annoying. She pops up every once in a while on my feed, and then whenever I watch her, I'm just like, holy moly. If you notice, Allan Lichtman's election predictions only fail when our democracy is broken. Maybe we need to add some kind of meter to measure our democracy's health. That's not the worst idea I've ever heard, honestly. Peb says, your father was not wrong with his prediction. Until we get more concrete evidence, I'm not willing to say that, personally. Don't you love how they want to deport anyone against Trump should be deported? Just like, yeah, it's like that's just their line now. It's like, you disagree with Trump, you're mad about this or that, you're deported. It's like, Jesus, like, what? Sam, should Harris run again or run for California governor? These are what? I don't really have a take on whether she should or shouldn't run again. I think for the most part, at least if she runs again, the primary process will make the decision about her. In California, she's probably pretty safe. I don't know. Three of the last elections were tainted by voter fraud, while the last election was tainted by disinformation, and we know that both of them are undemocratic. The dude fishing says, new candidates. That's kind of the way I feel, and I think that maybe that's why I'm so uninspired to talk about Harris. It's just because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not that interested in her. I'm not like not interested, but I'm not interested, you know? And I would... What? We just went out before the show. I don't know what you want. You want food? All right, let me give him some food. I'll be right back. I'm sorry, everyone. You want food? All right, let's hope that's what he wanted. Can Trump be impeached? Of course he can. Thanks, Karen Strickler, for the $3. I appreciate that. Prime Minister Bette Midler said, honestly, I was not impressed with Harris's initial response to losing. She left all her supporters out in the cold without addressing them until the next day. I don't know. That didn't bother me that much. Sam, how cooked are we as a country? Imagine this level of executive authority is happening every day for the next 4 years. I'm still hopeful. And I still think even the damage he does do can be reversed once he's gone. But yeah, I mean, these first, week and a half is not a good sign for sure. Dems need new blood. Establishment Dems policy failed twice. I don't think Harris should run. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, generally speaking. Fun fact, if the president, vice president, speaker of the House all suddenly died, we would have a 91-year-old president pro temp of the Senate, Chuck Grassley. That is a fun fact. Thank you, Philip H. I appreciate that for the donation. We can't give up hope. I agree with you, Tim. Do you think Trump will be prosecuted when he leaves office? Probably not, because most of what he's done, that's the worst he did, as president. And now the Supreme Court has protected him with their immunity decision. It'll be a bad 2 years until the midterms. Yeah, that is something, right? In theory, in 2 years, there could be a saving grace, but a lot has to happen before that happens. You know what I mean? Like, to make that happen, a lot has to happen. During the closing of the 24 election, Harris was packing arenas while Trump was giving BJs to a microphone, and his followers were leaving his rallies. How did he win? He didn't. I mean, I don't think you can base an election off of people's rally excitement, unfortunately, or fortunately. Just last year, Harris consistently pulled better compared to Biden against Trump, so where was the racism and sexism then? I don't know. Look, I'm not going to try to sit here and explain all these discrepancies between polls and voting, and I can't. I don't think anybody on earth can explain, that. I don't think anybody could explain it in 2016 either, when something out of the norm happens or out of common thinking. I mean, who the hell knows? Trump only won because Biden dropped out. I mean, I guess that's maybe true. But again, we'll never know. We'll never be able to measure that concretely. Sam, what do you think of the stereotype of Americans being stupid? I don't agree with it. I think Americans are as smart as any country in the world, and I don't buy that people are just so dumb they can't. Most interactions I have one-on-one with people, most people are very smart individuals. What? Okay, 1 second. Tim says, dumb, no. Uninformed, yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would lean more in that direction for sure. Elon got Trump at least 20 million fraud votes through X, pay to vote and suppressing the algorithm. What do you mean by that exactly? Like through just information alone he did that, or there was some sort of concrete act he did to do that? Because I don't think there is a concrete act. Maybe through information you could argue that, but again, it's not a measurable thing. Decent amount of people who voted for Trump in 24 aren't all necessarily MAGA. Different demographics of voters. Yeah, maybe so. Sam, have you ever thought about growing a beard? I can't really grow a beard. My hair's my facial hair is just a little too patchy. Even if they impeach Trump, who becomes president? JD Vance, which would just be the same story again, right? Yes, correct. I don't know. In his first term, I did think impeachment was a remedy. At this point, you know, they tried to impeach him twice. They did, and then it just never goes through. It just feels like we go through this marathon of trying to impeach Trump, and at the end of the day, nothing really changes, you know? I'm not saying I'm not saying they're not valid. It's not a valid thing to do, or the arguments for it aren't valid. It just doesn't produce anything. What are your thoughts on this DeepSeek crashing the markets and causing chaos? I saw something about that, but I don't remember. What is that exactly? DeepSeek. DeepSeek. Unravel the mystery of AGI with curiosity. DeepSeek is a Chinese artificial intelligence company that develops open source large language models. How a Chinese startup went from stock trader to AI star. Did a little known Chinese startup cause a Sputnik moment for AI. So I don't get what's going on here.
Fargo is your...
No free ads.
Talk about DeepSeek because it is mind-blowing and it is shaking this entire industry to its core. The emergence of DeepSeek now putting pressure on the U.S. tech names. We told you all about it last week in Davos. The buzz started growing about DeepSeek's latest AI model being more efficient while running on a lot less advanced NVIDIA chips. Released last week, it's already being called what is a major breakthrough as the app shows its work, its reasoning, it answers users' prompts. I, by the way, was spent basically all weekend playing with it. It is the #1 app, I believe, on Apple right now. The product overtaking ChatGPT today as that on the App Store that way. DeepSeek, which was created by a Chinese hedge fund manager, also capturing the attention of leaders, as we mentioned at the World Economic Forum last week in Davos.
We should take the development out of China very, very seriously.
What we found is that DeepSeek, which is the leading Chinese AI lab, their model is actually the top performing, or roughly on par with the best American models.
If the United States can't lead.
So what's the issue? I don't get it. So it's like, it's a little better than ChatGPT and people are freaking out because it's Chinese owned. Is that the only issue?
In this technology, we're going to be in a...
DeepSeek is a Chinese ChatGPT. Right. So like, what's the issue? They're just like, America doesn't own this market anymore. Yeah, no shit. America wasn't going to own AI forever. I mean,
very bad place geopolitically.
Now, you can take a look right now at the AI-related stocks. So NVIDIA, ARM, AMD, Microsoft.
So basically, because DeepSeek doesn't need these things as much, they're crashing a little bit. Something else will take its place. I don't know. DeepSeek itself will take its place.
Soft.
In the market.
Meta, interestingly, on that list, given it's open source. We got to talk about the open...
Meta sucks, dude. Come on, let's be honest.
Open source, closed source, bit of...
Microsoft kind of sucks, too. NVIDIA is a pretty good company, from what I understand. I'm not up on... Michael Hernandez Figueroa says, bad idea to feed their AI with data. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, too.
This as well.
And then it's a shocker to see NVIDIA down by more than 12% right now.
Absolutely. And then you have global chip stocks also in the red across the board, ASML Holdings and others. There is the question. I will say, Alexander Wang made the point last week, and it's become sort of the question mark about all of this, which is, he suggested on our air that it is possible that they were using some of the highest performing NVIDIA chips, perhaps as many as 50,000 of them, to build this model. Now, and they weren't supposed to have those chips.
Right.
If
So
that's
if that's the case, this
true,
is not the size.
the dynamic is different. Yeah. If it's not true,
what are they gonna do about it? The Chinese steal shit all the time. I mean, there's no repercussions for it.
then maybe all bets are off. It's possible, by the way, even if it is true, meaning even if they use those chips to create this, or at least partially to create this, it is still a significantly more efficient and better model. I think everybody agrees that right this moment, I mean, I don't know if did you get to play? It is mind-blowing.
It looks really.
What's so mind-blowing about it? I don't get it. It looks like a ChatGPT copycat. What's so I mean, it's just better and uses less expensive technology. What about it is mind-blowing? This guy just keeps saying, it's mind-blowing. I mean, I guess maybe you have to use it to experience it. I get that.
Great. I mean, it feels like it's open source.
Like, to me, when ChatGPT came out, that was mind-blowing. Like, I'd never seen anything like it before. It seems like this is just the Chinese version of ChatGPT without the cost, essentially, and less energy.
People can test this out themselves.
But I can tell you all the tests that I do just to see whether I think the writing.
Mehdi says it's mind-blowing because they did it with cheaper hardware, right? That's what I said, right? $5 million versus $500 billion. That is mind-blowing, yeah.
Is better, whether I think that it can answer certain questions. Yeah. I mean, it was not only faster, it was more human. The reasoning is shocking. I mean, there were moments where I was.
All right, now he's getting into it a little bit.
Like, oh my God, we are so much. You could feel the step change. As a person, I will also say, as exciting as it was, there was an element where I became scared because I thought, I had the opportunity to talk to all these people last week, and they all said the future's here and da-da-da-da. And then you sort of see it, and you go, oh, okay, I feel you in a different sort of visceral way. So yes, I think this is all happening at a level that when you mark your sort of AI history timeline in life, I think this past week, today, and everything else will be on it.
I think Mark Andreessen put it really succinctly and really smartly when he said that this feels like the Sputnik moment for the AI race, where China is really stepping in. So not just what it can.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm feeling too. It's like mostly people are freaking out because it's just China who owns it. You know what I mean? My mom says, I still don't get it. It's the Chinese version of ChatGPT, but they were able to do it at like a fraction of the cost to build their own ChatGPT, and it uses like way less energy than ChatGPT does. So essentially, it's just a way more efficient version of ChatGPT, and people are freaking out because it's Chinese, and people are freaking out because a lot of the companies that make products that, like chips, for example, like NVIDIA makes chips, right? And you need like so many chips, ChatGPT, their servers need so many powerful chips to run. This one needs less. That's what I'm getting from this. Do you trust them, Sam? Them being China? I certainly don't trust the Chinese government. I mean, no. Again, I've said this before, the U.S. government sells, not the U.S. government, but these other U.S. companies sell our data to China. I don't know what concretely I should be scared of with this. Like, are they going to mine our data and then attack us, right? What concretely should I be scared of? I mean, generally speaking, I don't want China to have my data. I don't want that at all. But I don't know if using any Meta product is any better than using this. Probably a little bit. Using Meta is a little bit safer in terms of like our data. Do you think it's because they can spy on us? Again, it's like they're already spying on us. I mean, they've been spying on us for decades. Maybe this will make it a little easier or something. Again, I just don't know what concretely I'm supposed to be so afraid of. I am afraid of it, generally speaking. I'm afraid of governments who we can't trust, authoritarian governments, controlling our data, having access to all of our data. But I am under the impression that's already the case. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone more educated on this can answer, but Jack Bell says, yeah, it's already too late. Yeah, that's kind of the way I feel. It's like our data has been compromised a long time ago. Jake says, I will say this, there's no way the U.S. military didn't know about this. I'm sure they knew about it before the public knew about it, but I bet you China kept this pretty well under wraps. I don't know. Who the hell knows? Mehdi says it's not about the data. Okay, so what it's about. U.S. sanctioned GPU hardware to China to prevent this from happening. NVIDIA says you'll definitely need our chips. This proved that's not the case, hence the freak out. Yeah, that's what I was saying before. If the U.S. government was worried about data security, there would have been a law a long time ago putting some sort of regulation into place. Totally agree. China is rising and on track to take over and replace the U.S. as the world's top empire. That might be true. It has broad implications for AI, and it certainly makes the Americans look bad. $500 billion invested versus $5 million. Musk and company got their clocks cleaned. Yeah, I get that. I think that the concern is that people will not invest in these expensive American products if these Chinese versions are going to be better. Right. Again, that's what I said. It's a lot of people are freaking out because it's China and it's China alone, and they're scared of this new superpower taking the #1 spot. Will there be another recession due to the oligarchy? I have no idea. China steals our stuff, makes it better and cheaper. Yeah, that's true. Who's going to be president in 2028? No idea. Not exactly. China has a demographic problem by 2030. What do you mean by that? Like it's going to be too big of a country? What does that mean? Oh, too many people over 60. Yeah, I keep hearing about people freaking out about that. I mean, like... Yeah, I guess you see like some problems with that in like Japan or South Korea, but it's not like it ended their countries. I mean, they've just adapted to it. I don't know. I guess there are some problems associated with it, but it doesn't seem as like apocalyptic as a lot of people seem to make it out to be. Like, I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. What? Kiko. Kamala should run again. Okay. America will be too pissed off at Trump by 2028 to elect another GOP. Let's hope so. China has a low birth rate, but that's a problem in the U.S. as well. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is it's a problem in a lot of the developed world. I don't see the developed world caving in suddenly, but maybe it will have a future effect. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump takes us into the second Great Depression because of how rampant wealth inequality and sky-high inflation due to tariffs and deregulation. Yeah, I mean, you make good points. I hope not. Sam, what do you think these tariffs Trump was talking about will be actually be acting on, if at all? I have no idea. Jake says Josh Shapiro is the Dems' only chance. Secretary of State Andrews says far too small. They stopped international adoptions, and Japan's birth rate hadn't even begun to be a problem. Ruth Mary Hicks says, I think It's the issue of perpetual growth being required to keep the billionaire class rolling in money. That's how I always see there was rich people freaking out about birth rate. And that's a good point, Ruth Mary. Like, is it just that rich people just need young people to be working for them so they can make more money? Like, does it actually affect the quality of life of an average person? I don't know. Florida passed an overwhelming, sweeping bill tonight to help Trump with his immigration. Is that true? Let's see. That seems to be true. Florida GOP legislature passes its own immigration bill over DeSantis' objections. I'm not going to take lectures from someone who a year ago didn't think Donald Trump. So these are like even further right than DeSantis. That's kind of scary. Florida's Republican-controlled legislature on Tuesday solidified its collision course with Governor DeSantis, sending him a bill the governor staunchly opposed that's meant to aid President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration. How do I get this to, like, I don't want to, I'm just like I slur my words. I want to try to get, I know on Mac you can get like it to read it back to you. Can you do that on PC? Like if you highlight something on my Mac, I could press Command-Shift-T and it, let me see. Settings. Can you do that on a PC? System, sound. Let's see if accessibility does it. Narrator. Okay, press the Windows logo, Control, and Enter. Let's see. Oh.
Narrator window. Close. Button. New shortcuts are available. Scan. Link. Skip to main con. Florida's GOP legislature passes its own immigration bill over DeSantis' objections. Politico. Main landmark.
This isn't.
Exiting narrator.
This is not really what I was thinking of. Damn it, I can't figure it out. I don't want to take it too much time. Right click, then speech/speak. Copy, no. Print, open read mode, no. What's read mode? You guys like my voice? All right. Just hours before the final votes, DeSantis called the legislation weak in a social media post. Even after the GOP legislature made a series of changes, they said, came after consulting with Trump administration. The final votes, however, fell short of a veto proof. Okay, so it did, but it's not veto proof. All right. But what did the bill say? So House Speaker Dina Perez was equally blunt, called the legislation which set aside more than $500 million to help the state deal with immigration, a game changer. So it's just pushing more money towards deportations? Let's see. How to get PC to read text.
The structure motorized pergola system.
No free ads.
Show you a little trick I learned today. My weakness is reading. I hate reading. I love math. I love numbers. And my wife, she can read a book a day. It amazes me, you know, how some people can do certain things. And like I can do numbers really good, but she can read good. So I'm gonna show you this little thing, how to get the computer to read to you. Just say, for instance, you go to a website, and I'm gonna read this part right here. It says, no point vaccinating those who've already had COVID-19. The Cleveland Clinic study suggests. And say, for instance, you want to read all this stuff, blah, 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 go on down. And say, for instance, this right here. Here go how you get the computer to read to you. You highlight this, whatever you want, right click, copy, and go to a Word document. This is Windows 10 I got. Right click, or you can hit Control V and just paste it. Now, here go what you do. You can, wherever you want it to start reading the computer, you want to start reading, you can start click here or here. We'll just start up here and just go to review and click right here where it says read aloud. Click
important observations of all enrolled participants.
I got a copy to a Word document. That sounds annoying. Sam, do you agree we need a new candidate that isn't Kamala? People forget she was the one that dropped. I don't want to pontificate or who shouldn't be the president or who shouldn't be. I think it's up to the voters at the end of the day. And it's up to a primary process. Obviously, we didn't have that this time around, which I think affected things. Hopefully, the primary process will pick the best candidate for the Democrats. I do, generally speaking, I'm more interested in new voices, new candidates out there, but that's just me. What's your deal? When the time comes, are you taking over the 13 keys? I don't think so. I feel like you are the only one that could use them the right way once they are passed on to you. Biden had a better chance than Kamala. Maybe so. We'll never know. Jim, come on, bro. A Democrat just won an election in a Trump district in Iowa. Is that true? Jasmine Crockett would be a great president. Has there ever been a House to president? Isn't Jasmine Crockett a House member? I just don't think it's realistic that a member of the House is going to become our next president. Secretary of State wants Andy Beshear, Whitmer, Walls, or Pritzker. Who's Pritzker? Endo Kukin says, I like Jasmine Crockett, but president is a stretch. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. At least at this point in her career. Maybe she will get to that point eventually. Sam, would you ever run for president given the year of age and qualifications? No. Tim says, I don't think anyone has gone from House to president. I don't think so either. The case says, Andy Beshear is the only choice. Congressman, the president happened in the West Wing, but not sure in real life. Anything is possible. J.D. Pritzker, governor of Illinois. Okay, I don't know who that is. Thank you for informing me. Kyle Kulinski wants James Stewart to run. You mean Jon Stewart? Yeah, I know. Look, again, if he runs and he wins the primary, more power to him. Again, I think I've said this multiple times. I'm not the biggest fan of celebrity politicians, but that's just me. Abraham Lincoln went from Congress to the presidency. What are you talking about? I'm not talking about senators. You're talking about House members. Philip H. thinks RuPaul should run. James A. Garfield was a House member. Okay, there you go. Can you watch the Greg Palast interview who says 3.5 million Democratic voters had their votes thrown out? Sure. Oh, maybe Lincoln did go from the House to presidency. Yeah, maybe he did. I guess, okay, it's possible. I just don't see it as a likely scenario. Which one? This one? Or this one?
This week, we're hosting a free trading and investing workshop.
Before we move along, Greg, before we move along,
sure.
Have we missed any techniques that Republicans are using to suppress the vote?
I don't think this is it, is it?
If not for vote suppression tactic, Kamala Harris would have won.
Our buddy Greg Palast is with us. Who actually won or lost the 2024 election for president? Greg, welcome back to the... I should mention you are the Guardian, New York Times reporter, author of The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. Your latest film is Vigilantes, Inc.
I did watch some of that film, by the way.
And gregpalast.com is your website. Hey, Greg.
Hey, glad to be with you, Tom.
Well, thank you. Who won or who lost the election?
It's real simple. If not for vote suppression tactics, that's a fancy word for shafting people of color out of their vote, young people out of their vote, Kamala Harris would have won 3,565,000 votes. That's the number of voters that were denied the right to vote because they were purged or they were challenged or they had their provisional ballot thrown out. Let me give you some of the numbers. The reason I'm giving you numbers, and I've waited so long to make this report, is that I have to get the numbers from the government agencies, particularly something we call the Elections Assistance Commission. So people don't realize, I used to be a professor of statistics. I was a forensic economist. This is my specialty, the numbers, which I usually did for attorneys general and the U.S. Department of Justice and other government agencies. And so these are calculations I would do, and I have done for federal courts. So we had, are you ready for this? According to the Elections Assistance Commission, the official numbers, we had 4,776,706 voters purged from the voter rolls wrongly. And I'm not making this up. I had the guys from that work with the Microsoft and Amazon go through every single purged name in two states, Georgia and Wisconsin. We took those two states. And we found, for example, in Georgia, that 198,000 voters, we actually have their names and addresses were wrongly removed from the voter rolls. And you'll be shocked, overwhelmingly, voters of color. In Wisconsin, almost every voter removed by the purge was either a black voter in Milwaukee or a student in Madison. We had this brand new business this year of vigilante voter challenges. We talked about that on the air, where for the first time, very first time, an individual voter like Greg Palast can say, Tom Hartman does not live in Portland. He shouldn't be allowed to vote. This is new. A third of a million, 317,000 voters were challenged by the beginning of August. NAACP said it was over 200,000 just Georgia alone by election day. We had 2.12 million mail-in ballots rejected, and that wouldn't mean anything if it were random. It's not random, Tom.
Did you know that putting 3 drops of...
Chill out, bro. What the hell is this crap?
according to the state of Washington, which did a study, you're 400% more likely to have your mail-in ballot rejected if you're black than if you're white. And Washington State has the least voter suppression of any state in the union. And according to the U.S. Civil Rights Commission, which did a study, they found that the chance of your ballot being rejected, mail-in or in precinct, is 900% higher if you're black than if you're white. We have over 500,000 votes that were spoiled. That is, they said they couldn't be read. And again, it's very, very racial. We had 1.2 million provisional ballots rejected. People think, they get this, you go in and they say, oh, you've been challenged, you've been purged, or we can't find your name on the rolls. Here, fill out this provisional ballot. 43% of those ballots, according to the U.S. government, 43% of provisional ballots, and there were about 4 million in the last, or about 3 million in the last election. 43% of those were thrown in the garbage. Overwhelmingly voters of color, and in fact, if you're black, Hispanic, or Latino, or Asian American, the chance you'll be given a provisional ballot is 300% higher than if you're white. We're talking, there's some double counting here. The vote suppression factor is about 2.3%. Again, Kamala Harris would have even won the popular vote, 3.565 million extra votes. She would have won the states of Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. These are pretty exacting calculations, Tom. And so she would have won with 286 electoral votes. Again, this is absent if we didn't have a vote suppression Jim Crow voting system. And I'm telling you, I work all over the world on elections, from Britain to Venezuela to Liberia. There's no other nation in the world, except for old apartheid South Africa, where we have a supposed democracies, where you have this racial, basically Jim Crow apartheid voting system, where you have massive, massive numbers of voters of color lose their vote. Also now, that's kind of widened out to, I found a massive number of young people. Again, that demographic is they're voters of color too. The color's blue, because young voters, especially young women, that are targeted for the purges, to be sent to provisional ballots, had their registrations canceled or their votes disqualified, especially their mail-in ballots. NPR found that 1 in 7 mail-in ballots in the analysis they did were thrown in the garbage. Overwhelmingly.
Is that true? Let me just look that up. NPR, 1 in 7 ballots. Rejected. This is from 2020. This is where I start to get a little confused with this guy. He says a lot of stuff, but I'm not seeing like a lot of proof of it. I just wanted to test this to see if, I don't even see anything from NPR about this, and he just said that there was an article about it.
Again, by the government numbers, 400% more likely if you're black than if you're white. So this is how Trump won, by racial and other forms of votes.
Right. This is a big claim, right? But does he have any proof of this other than just talking about it?
Depression. That gave him the election. And unless we restart a voting rights movement in America, 2028's already decided. It'll be decided by Jim Crow, not by the voters.
It seems sometimes, Greg, that the whole conspiracy movement, it's got to be the voting machines. Oh, it's got to be, Starlink being in the middle. It's got to be Elon Musk. And I think Trump was trolling us a couple days ago when he basically congratulated Elon Musk on doing something with the vote counting machines in Pennsylvania. It almost seems like all of that is just a great distraction from what is actually happening and actually working for the GOP. They started this whole squealing about brown people being illegal voters in the 60s with Operation Eagle Eye and with William Rehnquist, the guy who became the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. There's history here.
Well, yes, and in fact, in my film Vigilantes Inc., which, by the way, Greg,
Sam, he analyzed data. So let's see that. Like, pull up the data. Let's see the data. Why listen to him? I don't know. Sam, I'm sure he'd come on your show if you're dead. I asked our channel manager to ask him to reach out to him. So hopefully that's in the works. I'm not sure. I can double check.
GregPals.com. Thanks, Leonardo DiCaprio. You can download it or stream it for free. But we go back, we show you a clip from the 1920 film over 100 years ago, the film Birth of a Nation, where they show a white actor in blackface putting 2 ballots into a ballot box. So the accusation that black voters vote multiple times to steal elections is an old trope. But this time it came back 100 years later with the Trump group, True the Vote. And they used that to justify these new vigilante individual challenges. Again, they proudly proclaimed 317,886 challenges by the beginning of August. And this is brand new stuff. This has not been done since the Ku Klux Klan used this personal mass challenge business in 1946. This is the Klan plan.
When Trump came for our rights, the ACLU showed up.
Trump used this to massive effect, especially in Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. This was Georgia, Arizona, and Pennsylvania. This was a massive attack on voters of color, especially. And we're not guessing about what color they are. We called up 800 of the challenged voters. Almost all of them were black, and a smattering of some young white people registered as Democrats. Obviously, they know your registration, they know who you are, and they know your zip code. So this is how it's been working again, they brought in a 1946 Klan plan. So there is a long history here. But we have now, and that was justified supposedly by black people from, you saw in the film from True the Vote, 2,000 Mules, where they said, black men, whom they called mules, were stuffed. They showed them stuffing ballot boxes. And of course, they've been sued to a fare thee well because everyone that they showed on camera was a legal voter. They were just guilty of voting while black.
Yeah. And True the Vote ultimately had to apologize, didn't they, to avoid a lawsuit?
No, just the only people that Sinclair, which was their distributor, apologized and withdrew the film. But 10 million people have seen it.
Right.
They've made millions of dollars off this thing. But the worst thing is,
yeah, that film is really sick. That 2000 Mules film.
It resulted in a massive reduction in drop boxes and early voting, which is the main way that black people, especially in the South, vote. The vast majority of African Americans vote early or by mail. The majority of Democrats vote by mail. 51% more likely to send in your ballot by mail if you're a Democrat, which means 1 in 8 of your votes are going to be thrown in the garbage, just so you know, because it's very easy to come up with an excuse to disqualify a ballot. And if you go to gregpals.com, or even better, go to Tom Hartman and read my article, you will meet people that I have met who, tell me their story. So these are not just numbers. These are people that, so for example, Major Gamaliel Turner, career military officer, 70 years old. He was not sent his mail-in ballot because he was challenged by a Republican Party official who said he didn't live in California. Well, he was assigned by the President of the United States as a military man to a base in California. Voting rights, the expert on Georgia voting purges, who wrote her PhD.
Greg, I got to pause you there. Can you stay with us for a bit?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Hang on. It's 18.
Look, if what he's saying is true, which on face value seems like it makes sense. Like it makes sense that states like Georgia would enact these Klan-like voting laws. But I read his article. I watched this. I read part of his movie. He never shows us. He says a lot, but he never shows us anything. He never shows us Like, I believe in the article, like this commission that he cites, that, you know, he hasn't talked about it because he's waiting on some commission to release the numbers. He makes this claim that like 4 million votes were purged. And he said that's because like of the EAC, the Election Something Commission. I forgot what he calls it. But then he says that they haven't posted the numbers yet in that same article. So I don't know if anybody else saw that. Let me see if I can find it. I think he calls it the EAC. Yes. So here's an ugly number. According to the EAC, so he's talking about 2016 numbers. According to EAC data, before the 24 election, 4.7 million registrants were removed nationwide simply because they failed to return the postcard. He's talking about this pose and postcard thing, which is like this idea that in states, when you get challenged, they send a postcard to your house and like you have to return this to prove you live here. And obviously a lot of people don't check their mail or don't know what it is and they don't send it back. So I think that's what he's talking about in this case, which means that they probably, I don't know. Here it is. Unfortunately, the EAC won't release data, if it does at all, for at least a year. We put in open records requests to the states, but today's officials are stonewalling and slow walking our requests for the data. In no other democracy are vote totals, or to be clear, the uncounted ballot totals a state secret. So this is where I'm getting a little confused. Here he's telling us that the EAC hasn't released the data yet. They probably won't even release the data for another year. And then at the beginning of the article, he starts out saying that like 4 million votes. Yeah, here. Like, how does he know that if they... Here we go. Harris would have gained at least another 3.5 million votes, topping Trump in the official by 1.2 million. Like, where is he getting these numbers if he's saying that these numbers come from the EAC and the EAC hasn't released the numbers? Can anybody... I guess he's also using this number, which is... I don't understand this number either. So according to EAC, before the election, they already knew that 4.7 million registrants were removed. So is he saying that data is out, but the actual data isn't? Again, it's confusing me a little bit. Can anybody square that? Jim says, use common sense. Wouldn't Harris's master legal team full of hundreds of lawyers who specialize in voter fraud and legalities miss this? Yeah, I don't. I agree. That is odd. Like, why? I mean, these are massive numbers, right? Like, what? How did all these smart people miss this, or like aren't talking about it? I don't get it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not true, but it does bring up question. He did explain his sources and data at the start and how he arrived at his finding. But he's using the EAC data. That's like his main data source. And he's using all these numbers from the EAC. And then at the end of the article it says, but the numbers aren't even out for this election yet. That's what I don't understand. Contact the EOC. But he's saying the EOC isn't giving him any information. So what is contacting the EAC going to do? I'm not denying this is true or false, just to be clear. I just need more information. Okay, so here he's making a statement without any evidence. Here he's making a statement without any evidence. So he says that 4.7 million votes were wrongly purged from voting rolls according to EAC data. So is what he's saying that this was what they knew already before the election? That this data was available, but the actual data of the election itself is not available? He says that the NAACP estimates that by election day, the challenges exceed 200,000 in Georgia alone. Stephen K. says it's widely known that black and brown communities were disenfranchised in every election going back to LBJ. This is not anything new. Yeah, I agree with that. Michael Yu says need more proof. I agree. And his line of reasoning is confusing because he's saying EAC data doesn't come out for at least a year, but then he's saying that we have EAC data, but it's pre-election data. It's just a little confusing. NAACP, let me see. NAACP Georgia election. So again, here's a claim that he made that claim about that NPR article. I couldn't find it. Again, these are pretty big claims, right? You would think they would show up top of the page. And here is something about the Georgia election, an NWC in Georgia election, and I can't find anything on it. And it's all pre-election stuff. Well, he did say it was pre-election. So this is about hand counting votes. This is about them extending voter registration because of Hurricane Helene. Again, I'm not seeing it. Here's something about access to ballot box. Again, I'm not doing a very deep dive, but I'm not seeing. I mean, you would think if they found 200,000 challenges in Georgia, there would be there would be an article with that headline very high up on a Google search. And it's mostly about hand counting, voter registration. Here's something from the Legal Defense Fund. But it says 5,000 Georgia voters. Again, his numbers and his stuff are just not quite lining up. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just not seeing, right, when you're trying to prove something, you need, multiple forms of evidence, right? You can't just take one person's word for it. And especially because he's citing certain things, and I haven't found anything that's citing this number, 200,000 voter challenges, right? I mean, we found something that has to do with Georgia, the NAACP, and the removal of ballots. We're talking about 5,000 ballots here, right? When you're trying to prove something, you need multiple sources. That gives credibility to your claims. Georgia election, 200,000 challenges. ACLU of Georgia releases the Palace Investigative Fund report. The state likely removed new. Okay. Today, the ACLU of Georgia released a report that includes the state removed in 2019 $200,000. So this is also old. So again, it's just not, his stuff isn't quite lining up. The dates aren't lining up with the numbers, and the, you know what I mean? This is old. This is 2019. And the report is by him. I mean, granted, it does have the ACLU of Georgia's stamp mark of approval, which is good. But it's 4 years, 5 years old. Again, this is not all lining up. The only way is to ask him yourself, right? Well, I'm trying. I'd love to talk to him for sure. Right, this is old. This is from 2020. I mean, he's not saying it's from 2024, but it is a little misleading the way he's put this. And right, he's talking about his methodology and his sources. He just says this. According to what? According to who? Same with this. According to what? According to who? Is this based off of his own report from 2020? I mean, here's something. An audit by the state of Washington found that black voter was 400% more likely than a white voter to have their mail-in ballot rejected. Right, but does that prove that Trump didn't win? Not necessarily. There's just too many question marks I have to be like, this is the end-all, be-all, you know? That's just my take. Greg Palast is credible. I'm not necessarily saying he's not credible. I'm just asking questions about some of the stuff that he's saying. And even if someone's credible, it's good to have multiple sources backing up their claims. I mean, that's a very simple way to claim the validity, or to check the validity of someone's claim. Did you watch the documentary? I watched like the first third of it, maybe. It was interesting, and you know, I watched the part where he like confronts some lady who did all these challenges based on True the Vote. I mean, I definitely think he's got something here. Whether these numbers are fully accurate, whether they're current, whether they're proof of a Donald Trump loss, that's what I'm wondering. Watch the entire thing? All right, I'll try to. There's no data because no one else has looked into it. But he's citing here that the NAACP of Georgia did this estimate, and I can't find anything about that. He made a claim in that video that NPR found that 1 in 7 ballots, and I couldn't find that. Again, these are huge claims that you would think would be very easy to find, and I can't find them. He has receipts though. All right, I'd love to see them. I don't think he's credibly cited them here. I mean, he's definitely onto something, right? Like something like this. Like this, you can just check that whether states have enacted these voter laws or not, right? Again, does that prove that Trump lost? Not necessarily. And that's a big claim to prove. That's all I'm saying. Most mainstream media doesn't do any investigating. That's not necessarily true. I mean, certainly the talking heads and the talent don't, but the journalists behind the scenes definitely do some investigating. Especially like at the New York Post and Washington Times. Like more papers than TV channels. Look up Jessica Denson. I can't watch an hour thing right now. All her videos are too long.
I'm just
On Miro, teams work faster on the new Innovation Workspace.
History will have to record that the greatest tragedy of this period of social transition was not the strident clamor of the bad people, but the appalling silence of the good people.
That's what my dad always says too.
Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. Those, of course, are the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who we memorialized on Monday, on that day when Donald J. Trump, a man who is constitutionally disqualified from assuming the presidency, was illegally sworn into that office. There is so much reckoning to do with this moment. There is so much opportunity to confront and speak out and be clear and unambiguous about where we stand right now and what our legal obligation and moral responsibility is to do in this moment. I'm so grateful today to be joined by one of the clearest moral voices that I know in the Democratic Party, Texas State Representative James Tallarico. James, welcome back to
Okay, I need something more concrete about this. It's just a show. I can't watch the full show.
I'm Jessica Denson, and I host a show.
All right, I'm getting real sleepy. I've been going for 2.5 hours. I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm gonna go eat some dinner. Look at my hair right now. That's what you get when you wear hats all day. I'm gonna go eat some dinner. I'm gonna chill out. Crazy time here, but everybody keep your head up. Don't let them bring you down. Don't lose hope. Peace and love.